Hi, my name is Ang Chishen and I'll be presenting Economics of Financing Forest Conservation in Malaysia. So why should we finance forest conservation? Forest conservation plays a critical role in Malaysia's sustainable development agenda. With its vast tropical forests, the country is home to rich biodiversity and serves as a significant carbon sink. However, deforestation and unsustainable land use threaten Malaysia's natural capital, making forest conservation essential for maintaining ecological balance, promoting economic resilience, and safeguarding livelihoods. To achieve these goals, Malaysia must prioritize the economics of forest conservation, exploring innovative financing mechanisms to ensure the sustainability of its forests. Forests are essential to Malaysia's sustainable development strategy, offering climate change mitigation by absorbing carbon dioxide and maintaining biodiversity. Locally, Malaysia's forests provide critical ecosystem services such as regulating water cycles, controlling soil erosion, and maintaining air quality, which directly benefit the agricultural sector, rural communities, and urban populations. Next, forest conservation aligns with Malaysia's international commitments under the Paris Agreement. By reducing deforestation, Malaysia can contribute to the global goal of limiting temperature increases to below 2 degrees Celsius. Failure to conserve forests will exacerbate the effects of climate change, such as increased flooding and extreme weather events, which already threaten the country. The devastating floods of 2021, for instance, were partly attributed to deforestation in upstream areas, highlighting the urgent need for better forest management to prevent future disasters. Furthermore, Malaysia's forest ecosystems are vital for supporting livelihoods. Over 30% of the population, particularly indigenous communities, depend on forests for their food, medicine, and shelter. Sustainable forest conservation not only protects these communities' way of life but also preserves the country's cultural heritage. Thus, sustainable forest management requires substantial financial investment. Malaysia has started to explore a range of financial mechanisms to fund forest conservation. Firstly, payment for ecosystem services, which is known as PES, is one of the most promising mechanisms for forest conservation in Malaysia. Landowners and forest managers are compensated for conserving forests and maintaining the ecosystem services that benefit industries and communities. For instance, the state of Sabah has introduced a PES model where water companies pay forest communities to protect watersheds that supply drinking water to urban centers. This model not only incentivizes conservation but also empowers local communities economically. Next, green bonds have emerged as a viable solution to fund large-scale environmental projects including forest conservation. In 2017, Malaysia issued its first green sukuk with proceeds directed towards renewable energy and conservation efforts. Expanding green bonds to specifically target forest conservation projects would provide a steady stream of funding while encouraging private sector investment in environmental sustainability. Lastly, ecotourism. Sustainable ecotourism is another financial mechanism with significant potential. Malaysia's rainforests, particularly in areas like Taman Negara and Danam Valley, attract international tourists seeking nature-based experiences. Revenue from ecotourism can be reinvested in conservation programs and local communities, as seen in Sabah, where initiatives like the Kinabatangan River Project generate income through tourism while protecting the surrounding wildlife and habitats. Convincing policymakers of the importance of financing forest conservation is crucial for long-term sustainability. Policymakers must understand that forest conservation is not just an environmental issue but also an economic one. Deforestation leads to the loss of ecosystem services that underpin industries such as agriculture, fisheries, and tourism, causing long-term economic damage. In the agricultural sector, forests play a vital role in regulating water supplies, ensuring the farms downstream have a steady supply of water. Without healthy forests, soil erosion, sedimentation, and water scarcity would impact agricultural productivity, directly affecting Malaysia's food security. Moreover, forest degradation increases the risk of natural disasters such as landslides and floods, which cost the government millions in recovery efforts. The floods in Kelantan in 2014 and the more recent floods in Pahang highlight the economic and social costs of forest loss. Investing in forest conservation is also essential for Malaysia's compliance with international agreements and environmental standards. Policymakers must recognize the long-term benefits of conservation, including carbon credits, international funding opportunities, and enhance national reputation in sustainability efforts. Malaysia has implemented several strategies to promote sustainable forest management, but there is room for improvement. Firstly is the Central Forest Spine Master Plan, which aims to connect fragmented forest areas and restore ecological corridors. This approach helps mitigate the effects of habitat loss and ensures that species can move freely between forest areas, maintaining biodiversity. Another significant initiative is the Malaysian Timber Certification Scheme, which promotes sustainable logging practices by certifying timber products that meet international environmental standards. While this is a step in the right direction, illegal logging remains a challenge. Strengthening enforcement and penalties for illegal logging is necessary to ensure compliance with sustainable forestry practices. Community-based conservation efforts also play an important role. For instance, the indigenous Orang Asli community has been actively involved in forest management projects, such as the Sahabat Alam project, which encourages sustainable resource use and forest protection. By involving local communities in conservation efforts, Malaysia can ensure that policies are more inclusive and sustainable in the long run. To enhance economic strategies for sustainable forest management, Malaysia should consider the following recommendations. Firstly, expanding public-private partnerships. Encouraging partnerships between the government, private sector, and non-governmental organizations can pool resources and expertise to fund forest conservation. For instance, companies in the palm oil industry could be incentivized to invest in reforestation projects, offsetting the environmental impact of their activities. Next is increasing green bond issuance for forest projects. By expanding the scope of green bonds to include forest conservation projects, Malaysia can attract investment from environmentally conscious investors supporting large-scale reforestation and sustainable forestry initiatives. Besides, pest models should be expanded beyond localized efforts with a nationwide framework that compensates landowners and indigenous communities for protecting forests. This will create economic incentives for conservation across the country. Lastly, is strengthening community-based initiatives. By involving local communities in decision-making and benefit-sharing mechanisms, it ensures that conservation efforts are sustainable and equitable. Training and empowering these communities can foster a sense of ownership and long-term commitment to forest protection. In conclusion, the economics of financing forest conservation in Malaysia is not just about protecting the environment, but also about ensuring economic resilience and sustainability. By exploring financial mechanisms such as pest, green bonds, and ecotourism, Malaysia can align economic interests with conservation goals. Policymakers must recognize the long-term economic benefits of forest conservation, while communities and industries have a role to play in ensuring sustainable forest management. With the right strategies in place, Malaysia can achieve a balance between economic growth and ecological preservation, ensuring a sustainable future for all. Thank you.